The roar of the crowd, the flash of the cameras, the sound of history being written. For decades, the Women's World Cup was fighting for recognition, for respect, for equality. And now, finally, the game explodes onto a new level.
Well, it's a very important day today for women's football. The FIFA Council, after having thoroughly analyzed the question, decided today to increase the number of participating teams or participating countries in the FIFA Women's World Cup to 48.
FIFA has announced that the Women's World Cup in 2031 will expand to 48 teams. Not 16, not 24, not 32, 48 nations. 48 dreams, 48 chances to write history. This is not just football. This is a revolution. The news shook the world of sports. Fans cheered, players cried, critics debated, but everyone knew one thing: women's football will never be the same again. The Women's World Cup began as a small stage, often overlooked. In 1991, only 12 teams competed. The stadiums were half filled, the coverage was thin, but even then, the passion was undeniable. Slowly, it grew. 16 teams, then 24, then 32. And now, after decades of struggle, 2031 becomes the year of expansion. 48 teams. Imagine the opening match. 48 flags waving in the air. Nations who never dreamed of making it now standing shoulder to shoulder with giants. And this expansion is not just about numbers. It's about opportunity. More games mean more visibility. More teams mean more investment. Sponsors who once ignored women's football will now pour money into it. Federations will build better academies. Broadcasters will fight for rights. The ripple effect will be massive. One decision today could change millions of futures tomorrow. But with change comes challenge. In 1991, the first Women's World Cup was played in China. Only 12 teams were invited. Few believed it would even survive, let alone become the second biggest sporting event on Earth. The matches were intense, the talent undeniable, but the recognition was minimal. The world barely noticed, but those women lit a spark. By 1999, when the USA hosted, that spark had become a fire. The Rose Bowl filled with more than 90,000 fans as Brandi Chastain scored the winning penalty and ripped off her jersey in celebration, a moment that became an icon of women's sport. That single image told the world, women's football is here, and it's here to stay. From there, the tournament grew. 16 teams, then 24, then 32. Each expansion brought new stories. Nigeria's Super Falcons stunned the world. Japan rose from tragedy to triumph, winning in 2011 after a devastating earthquake. Brazil gave us Marta, the queen of goals, playing with joy and fire. Every 4 years, the game grew louder, stronger, harder to ignore. For every story we saw, there were hundreds untold. And that is why 2031 matters. The expansion to 48 is not just growth, it is justice. It is the world finally catching up to the game women have been building for decades. 48 teams. Think about that number. It means Africa will send not just a few representatives, but a wave of them. Imagine Cameroon, Nigeria, South Africa, Morocco, Zambia, all fighting for glory together. It means the Pacific Islands, where football is played on beaches and dirt fields, might see their flag on the global stage. The Women's World Cup 2031 is not just for the traditional giants. It's for the underdogs, and underdogs create magic. Remember Thailand's heartbreak in 2019 when they lost 13-0 to the USA. Critics laughed, but few saw the tears, the pride, the courage to stand on that field. Now with more teams, they'll return stronger, braver, more prepared. And somewhere, in a small town far away from the cameras, a young girl will watch her country play for the first time on television. That girl might be the next Marta, the next Rapinoe, the next Sam Kerr. Representation builds dreams, and dreams build champions. This expansion tells every child, football is for you, not just if you're born in Brazil or the USA, but if you're born anywhere on Earth. But let's be honest, change always brings resistance. Critics argue that expanding to 48 teams will water down the quality. And maybe, in 2031, We will see some brutal scorelines. Maybe newcomers will stumble against giants. But here's the truth. Every powerhouse was once a beginner. The USA once fought for respect. Spain only recently rose to dominance. Japan was underestimated until they shocked the world in 2011. Growth is painful, but without those early defeats, there can be no future victories. And let's not forget, football thrives on stories. Who remembers only the winners? We remember the spirit of underdogs, the nations who fought with pride. Iceland in the Men's Euro 2016, Morocco in the Men's World Cup 2022. These stories make football magic, and in 2031, the Women's World Cup will give us dozens of such tales. Yes, the road will be tough, but in those struggles, the future will be built. The expansion is not just about football. It's about impact. More teams mean more visibility. More visibility means more funding. Federations that once ignored their women's squads will now be forced to invest, because a place in the World Cup is too valuable to waste. Sponsors will follow. Media will follow. Families will encourage daughters where they once discouraged them. In villages, in cities, in refugee camps, in schools, girls will point to the TV and say, "If she can play, so can I." The ripple effect is unstoppable. Nations that never dreamed of producing stars will suddenly create academies. Governments will build stadiums. Grassroots programs will double. And the change will not stop with football. It will touch culture, equality, opportunity. Because when you give women a stage, you give them power. And power transforms everything. 2031 will not just crown champions. It will crown a generation of pioneers who prove that football belongs to everyone. Picture the opening ceremony. 48 flags wave in the air, drums beat, voices roar. Players walk onto the field, some from nations that have never touched this stage before. They wipe away tears, knowing they are not just playing a game, they are making history. The world will see new faces, hear new anthems, discover new heroes. Yes, the USA, Germany, and Brazil will still fight for trophies. But the heart of 2031 will be the stories of nations who arrive for the very first time. Maybe they won't win the cup, but they will win something bigger, belief. And years later, when we look back, we will not just remember the goals or the saves. We will remember 2031 as the year the Women's World Cup became truly global. The year football opened its arms to every corner of the earth. Because football is not just about who wins, it's about who dares to play. And in 2031, the world will see that the beautiful game has no limits, no borders, and no barriers. This is not just history, it is the future, and it begins now.